We're about halfway through this election campaign now, and it's clear that all the parties are eyeing key ridings to either keep them or win them. So tonight we travel to 4 battlegrounds in Newfoundland, Ontario, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. We start in Atlantic Canada, the riding of Avalon. It's vast, rural, and west of St. John's. The average household income is $57,000 a year, well below the national average, and unemployment is high. The Liberals won the riding 3 years ago, but as Wiebe explains, this could be a fight to the finish.
A school fair reflects on rural Newfoundland's past. It was a rugged way of life lived by most of the seniors here today, but modern life doesn't seem much kinder.
There is some seniors, it's balancing between drugs and the heat and light. And that's a sad situation, but that's the way it is.
This part of Newfoundland survived the collapse of the cod fishery better than others. But better opportunities elsewhere mean people keep leaving. So towns like these are getting older, and people are looking to politicians for answers.
What are we going to do? There's nothing really, well, there's nothing really you can do, but you're living in hope every day. So that's the biggest thing now, is how quick are we going to phase out?
Appealing to the senior vote and offering hope to the next generation are key to winning this riding. Former Conservative Senator Fabian Manning is trying to persuade voters their best chance is getting a voice inside government, something they didn't do in the last election.
While there was a clear message sent during the last campaign, I think people also realised that, the way that Ottawa works is that it's necessary to have someone there from Newfoundland and Labrador.
Scott Andrews unseated Manning last time. Many Tories either voted Liberal or didn't vote at all.
How are you getting on today?
Andrews is campaigning hard to keep his seat by selling the idea the Conservatives can't be trusted.
We're still hearing it every door we go to. Trust, trust, trust. Don't trust Stephen Harper. Don't trust Senator Manning.
All eyes are on the Avalon riding. If the Conservatives can turn around their prospects in a province that so resoundingly rejected them last time, it could signal a breakthrough in the rest of the country. Wiebe, CBC News, St. John's.
Many consider vote-rich Ontario the real prize in this election. And Brampton-Springdale is one riding the Conservatives are hoping to win from the Liberals. This is a largely middle-class community near Toronto. The average household income is well above the national average. And something else sets this riding apart. 47% of the population are immigrants. Ron Charles takes us there tonight.
For years, Liberal candidates could always count on support here in the Sikh temples of Ontario's Brampton-Springdale riding. 1 in 3 voters is from the South Asian community. Paramjit Bains has always supported Liberal incumbent Ruby Dalla.
Oh, Ruby Dalla is really beautiful. She's really good. She has done a lot for seniors, for like us people.
But the political winds have been shifting in ridings like Brampton-Springdale. The gap between Liberal and Conservative candidates has been narrowing in successive elections. The Tories now see these suburban streets as their surest road to a majority.
They're counting on voters like Harvinder Singh Dhaliwal to get them there.
But you were a Liberal.
Yeah, I am a Liberal.
But you're supporting the Tory candidate.
Yeah, because Ruby Dalla, she's from our own community, and after she became an MP, she never worked really very well for the community.
Brampton lawyer Puneet Kohli explains why the Conservatives may be gaining ground.
The Conservative Party has changed. The South Asian Party, the South Asians have also changed as well. So the memories of Trudeau are faded.
And so the battle for Brampton-Springdale has been one of the more intense races, with Tory candidate Parm Gill reminding voters about alleged abuse of Dalla's live-in nannies, and the Liberals attacking the Tories for describing the riding as very ethnic in a leaked campaign document.
Prime Minister Harper, majority.
Local radio host David Tatla says political intensity is part of the culture.
When it's election time back home, we go all out. It's a big thing for us. We believe that right person should be elected.
And that means the fight here will only intensify. Ron Charles, CBC News, Brampton, Ontario.
Now let's head west to Saskatchewan, where Tommy Douglas founded the party that would become the NDP. These days, they're struggling to regain a foothold in that province. Saskatoon-Rosetown Biggar includes part of Saskatoon, but the riding is mostly rural. The average household income is $61,000 below the national average of $74,000. And as Cameron McIntosh shows us, the race is just too close to call.
It's a riding of contrast, inner-city neighborhoods and sprawling farms. For the second time, Saskatoon-Rosetown Biggar is making the choice between two candidates, incumbent Conservative Kelly Block and New Democrat Nettie Wiebe. A rematch of the last election between two women claiming deep rural and urban roots, a choice between the status quo.
I don't take anything for granted. I've worked hard since getting elected.
Or a loud voice in opposition.
It's important for Saskatchewan to have a real voice in Ottawa.
Last time it was close. Bloc won by only 262 votes, a margin of less than 1%. This time around, both sides are counting on it being equally as close.
You don't even see signs for the Liberals and Greens here. Just as hard to find one defining local issue. Poverty and housing are big issues in the city. In rural areas, the economy is the leading issue. The question, which candidate speaks best for both? Rob Lawrenson lives in the country and has businesses in the city. He can't tell you.
I don't even know what I'm voting for anymore.
Same thing for farmer Derek Fairnick, who would normally bet on the Conservatives here. Maybe not this time.
You talk to people, it's hard to get a grasp on anything.
Getting through to voters like that is key for both parties. Last week, Jack Layton was here talking about winning the NDP's first seat in Saskatchewan in a decade. Stephen Harper, meanwhile, needs to hold on to ridings like this if he's to get a majority. Tonight, he's here shoring up the vote for Bloc.
That does signal that their internal polling is telling them that indeed this riding is in danger.
I'm Kelly Block.
Both sides are campaigning hard and both are confident.
What I'm hearing on the doorstep is that we were doing a good job.
It's a very close race.
The only sure thing here is a tight race. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Saskatoon.
In Alberta, the Conservatives hold all but one riding. Edmonton-Strathcona is a blip of NDP orange in a sea of Tory blue. The riding stretches along the North Saskatchewan River, urban at its core and suburban around the edges. The average household income is more than $87,000, and most of its residents hold a post-secondary degree. Briar Stewart went to the Conservatives' last frontier in Alberta.
In Alberta, the spring weather is never predictable. The outcome of federal elections usually is. The Tories have a grip on this province, except here in Edmonton-Strathcona.
We know that the Conservatives worked really hard, and we're ready for that.
Linda Duncan and the NDP scored an upset win in 2008 by unseating high-profile Conservative Raheem Jaffer. Duncan won by less than 500 votes.
Then when you actually get out and get involved, you can actually change who represents your riding.
And it's a diverse riding, home to the city's art district and the University of Alberta, but also plenty of people who rely on the oil and gas industry.
Hello, give us a hug.
And that's who Conservative Ryan Hassman is targeting.
Tens of thousands of jobs are at stake, and we're proud of our record.
Hassman is a small business owner, a brand new candidate with a lot of pressure to win this riding back. But his campaign has had its hiccups. He was on the defensive when it was revealed that an ex-Tory aide under investigation by the RCMP was volunteering with his campaign. Then there was criticism in the media about how accessible he is.
I'm not letting myself get distracted from my primary role, which is meeting voters. You know, I think we've been very open.
Conservative loyalists hope Hassman can chip away at Duncan's popularity.
I think it'll be a close race, yeah. But, well, you know, I hope my candidate wins.
Hassman admits he's the underdog. Duncan is adored by some voters here.
She seems to have a social conscience. I don't feel that way about some of our other parties.
She was an environmental lawyer and is a critic of the oil sands.
She has a bit of an advantage in being the different person. And whether or not Edmonton residents are going to want another Tory backbencher is really a matter that's up for grabs.
Observers say Duncan may be the incumbent, but the riding is a big priority for the Conservatives. When Stephen Harper was here, he said he wanted to paint Alberta blue, making this race as tough to call as next week's forecast. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Edmonton.